Chapter 1758. Just when everyone was worried for Tang Ao, a scene that they had never thought of appeared before their eyes. A golden light flashed on Tang Ao's body as a golden armor surrounded Tang Ao. At that moment, Tang Ao looked like a god of war wearing golden armor. After summoning the battle sage Bone Life Soul, Tang Ao suddenly exerted his strength and punched out. Under Tang Ao's punch, the surrounding primordial energy stirred up layers of ripples. As it was too fast, it even produced an ear-piercing sonic boom. Bam! With an explosion, everyone saw the ferocious Inferno Lion being sent flying by Tang Ao's punch despite taking the initiative to attack. Furthermore, it smashed through several trees along the way before coming to a stop. After feeling the surging primordial energy in his body, Tang Ao knew that he had completely underestimated himself. Although he had fainted due to the depletion of his psyche and primordial energy, Tang Ao's psyche and primordial energy had been greatly enhanced after he recovered. Therefore, even a powerful demonic beast like the Inferno Lion couldn't withstand a single punch from him. After Tang Ao's stunning punch sent an Inferno Lion retreating, the other Inferno Lion fearlessly attacked Tang Ao. The Inferno Lion opened its mouth, and a ball of flames flew at Tang Ao. Against the Inferno Lion's ferocious fireball, Tang Ao didn't use brute force like the metal pillar. Tang Ao constricted his eyes as he instantly activated the sky pole eyes. Immediately, countless icy auras condensed around him. By the time the terrifying lava fireball flew in front of Tang Ao, it had already transformed into a massive ice ball. Furthermore, the ice ball didn't last long before it suddenly exploded. Instantly, ice crystals filled the sky. There was no sign of the lava fireball. After Tang Ao easily caught the Inferno Lion's fireball, the Inferno Lion was somewhat afraid. At this time, an axe appeared in Tang Ao's hand. This axe was none other than the demon-slaying axe Tang Ao had previously obtained. After using it the last time, Tang Ao realized that with his soul sea shattered, this demon-slaying axe was much more powerful than his life soul. Therefore, Tang Ao took out his demon-slaying axe and did not summon his green lotus sword soul. However, after taking out the devil-slaying axe, Tang Ao hesitated for a moment before putting it away. Tang Ao was very clear about the power of the devil beheading axe. Don't be fooled by how ferocious these two raging flame lions were. Under the devil beheading axe they could be easily killed. But now, Tang Ao had changed his mind. Previously, Tang Ao wanted to kill these two blazing lions, but now that he had killed one of his fire plume horses, there was still another carriage that didn't have a fire plume horse to pull. Therefore, Tang Ao decided not to kill these two blazing lions. Instead, he would use a soul imprint to subdue these two blazing lions. If it was any other martial artist, even Lu Chuanjia, who had already cultivated to the 4th level of the origin martial realm, wouldn't dare to do such a thing. Because demonic beasts were innately ferocious, in order to establish a soul imprint, the other party must not resist at all, or one's remembrance must be strong enough to suppress the opponent's remembrance. However, it was clear that it was impossible for the blazing lions not to resist. As for using remembrance to suppress the blazing lions, if it was a low-level demonic beast, Lu Chuanjia could perhaps give it a try. However, against a powerful demonic beast at the peak of the 1st level of the origin martial realm, Lu Chuanjia didn't have the guts to try. Chapter 1759. Just as everyone was in shock, something even more unexpected happened. Tang Ao's figure flashed and instantly appeared next to the two raging flame lions. Immediately, everyone saw that when Tang Ao appeared next to the two raging flame lions, their eyes were filled with endless fear. Their mouths also let out miserable cries as if they were currently encountering something. Actually, if a human martial artist wanted to establish a connection with a demonic beast, they could use a very friendly method, which was to establish a soul contract. Previously, Tang Hua Er and Tang Yu had both established a soul contract with Tang Ao. However, Tang Hua heir and Tang Yu were both of an extremely high rank and possessed an ancient bloodline. Therefore, Tang Ao had chosen to establish a soul contract with them. However, the two raging flame lions in front of him were naturally beneath Tang Ao's eyes. Therefore, Tang Ao only used a simple and crude soul imprint. The process of establishing a soul imprint between a demonic beast and a human martial artist was very painful. The demonic beast's beast soul felt as if it was being bitten by tens of thousands of ghosts during this process. However, Tang Ao didn't stop because this pain wouldn't cause any actual harm. Instead, it would make the demonic beast more obedient to its master. Due to Tang Ao's soul remembrance being too powerful, after the two raging flame lions were injured by Tang Ao, they didn't even have the slightest chance to resist before being imprinted with a soul imprint by Tang Ao. After establishing the soul imprint, Tang Ao released the soul remembrance suppression. The two flaming lions collapsed to the ground, as if they had collapsed from exhaustion. They gasped heavily for air. However, the eyes they were currently looking at Tang Ao no longer had the ferocity from before. There was only endless fear. Just as the two raging flame lions were gasping for breath, Tang Ao took out a bottle of grass-green pills from his storage ring. Shortly after, Tang Ao took out 2 pills from the bottle and flicked them into the two raging flame lions' mouth. What Tang Ao fed them were rank 6 spirit beast pellet. Although the effects of the pellets that Tang Ao made before on the Flying Star continent could only be used by 10%, how strong were the rank 6 pellets? The two blaze lions that seemed to be dying quickly stood up, and the auras on their bodies also broke into the second level of the origin realm. This scene directly caused Ling Weiwei and the other martial artists to be dumbfounded. They really couldn't understand what Tang Ao was doing at this moment. The next scene made everyone even more speechless. After taking Tang Ao's spirit beast pill, these two incomparably fierce raging flame lions actually became very docile like puppies. They even intimately used their heads to worship Tang Ao. Humph! Tang Ao coldly snorted and stopped them. He then said in a low voice, "Follow me." Then, Tang Ao walked towards Ling Weiwei and the others. The two raging flame lions obediently followed Tang Ao. Seeing the raging flame lions come over, Ling Weiwei and the others subconsciously took a few steps back in fright. Chapter 1760. Seeing Little Iron Pillar and the others coming over, the Flame Roar lions immediately let out a deafening roar, as if they wanted to scare Little Iron Pillar and the others away so that they would not approach Tang Ao. However, their actions of protecting their master made Tang Ao speechless. This was simply a slap to his face. Immediately, Tang Ao raised his hand and knocked on the heads of the two fellows. Only then did the two Flame Roar lions immediately calm down. "You two idiots, look carefully. These are our people. Don't shout at me in the future. Do you hear me?" Tang Ao said helplessly to the two flaming lions. "You two idiot." Hearing Tang Ao's words, the two Flame Roar lions nodded obediently. It was obvious that they knew that their master was very powerful. Moreover, the light green elixir in their master's hand was also very beneficial to them. Compared to Tang Horror, who could transform into a human form, the intelligence of these two Flame Roar lions was too worrying. Fortunately, although these two fellows did not have high intelligence, they were extremely obedient. Therefore, Tang Ao was very satisfied and took out the Spirit Beast Elixir again and gave them one each. The Spirit Beast Elixir that Tang Ao had now was refined by Tang Ao in the Ice Plane. Although the grade was very high, due to the suppression of the Flying Star Continent's special laws of heaven and earth, the efficacy of these Spirit Beast Elixir was reduced to about 10%. The Spirit Beast Elixir used to refine these Spirit Beast Elixir were relatively precious. Right now, Tang Ao did not have any extra on him. Therefore, Tang Ao decided to look for the Spirit Beast Elixir in the Flying Star Continent. Although without the Spirit Beast Elixir, Tang Ao could still use the Soul Brand to make these two fellows obedient. However, since the Soul brand was established, Tang Ao also regarded them as his own mount. Naturally, Tang Ao would not be stingy towards his own mount. Big brother Tang Ao, you're really amazing. How did you do it? Little Tai Zhu looked at Tang Ao with a face full of worship. Little Tai Zhu had personally experienced the strength of these two flame lions, but now these two fierce flame lions were actually subdued by Tang Ao. This made Little Tai Zhu worship Tang Ao. Little Tai Zhu's heart was filled with admiration for Tang Ao. If he could learn from Tang Ao, he would not have to do anything else in the future. All he needed to do was to search for powerful demon beasts across the entire Flying Star continent. However, the small metal pillar's thoughts were too beautiful. Using soul remembrance to suppress a demon beast required a terrifying amount of soul remembrance. Tang Ao had the 9 Dragons Emperor Jade body, and he had a soul ocean inside his body that other warriors didn't have. Therefore, Tang Ao was able to subdue these two flame lions so easily. Otherwise, even if it was a Sea of Souls realm warrior, it would be extremely difficult to use soul remembrance to suppress these two flame lions without any special methods. Chapter 1761. After Tang Ao subdued the 2 raging flame lions, the 100 Flower Villa's martial artists looked at Tang Ao differently. At this moment, of the 2 raging flame lions that Tang Ao subdued, one replaced the dead Fire Plume horse to pull the carriage while the other became Tang Ao's mount. At this moment, Tang Ao was very leisurely riding on the raging flame lion. With the raging flame lion in the group, the surrounding demon beasts felt the powerful aura of the 2 raging flame lions and naturally ran away in fright. Thus, although they encountered many demon beasts on the way, when these demon beasts appeared within Ling Weiwei's and the others' soul remembrance, they were immediately scared away. Although there were many demon beasts in the Blood Wasteland, the Origin Realm's 2nd level raging flame lion was an overlord-level demon beast. On the following journey, Tang Ao saw quite a few monstrous beasts, but the strength of the monstrous beasts were too weak. Naturally, Tang Ao was not interested. The strongest monstrous beast only reached the early stages of the 1st level of the Origin Realm. Moreover, after this demon beast felt the aura of the raging flame lion, it immediately madly ran away. Perhaps seeing that nothing happened to Tang Ao sitting on the raging flame lion, Ling Weiwei actually gathered her courage and walked over to Tang Ao. "Senior Tang Ao, can I also ride the raging flame lion?" Ling Weiwei's large eyes were filled with anticipation. Although Ling Weiwei had heard old Tan Shi say that some martial artists could use special methods to control demon beasts, it was the first time Ling Weiwei had seen a martial artist actually control a demon beast. Of course. Tang Ao flipped and jumped off the raging flame lion. Seeing that Ling Weiwei wanted to jump onto his back, the raging flame lion was a bit unwilling. No matter what, it was the king of the forest, the raging flame lion, with the strength of the 2nd level of the Origin Realm. Now that a little girl was riding on its back, the raging flame lion felt that it had lost a lot of face. However, Ling Weiwei was clearly very smart. After seeing Tang Ao give the raging flame lion a spirit beast pill, Ling Weiwei also concocted a cauldron of spirit beast pills. After getting Tang Ao's approval, Ling Weiwei took out the spirit beast pill she concocted from her storage ring, poured out one, and fed it to the raging flame lion. Because the raging flame lion was a fire-type demon beast, Ling Weiwei specially added some fire-type spirit herbs when she concocted the flame lion. Without a doubt, Ling Weiwei's decision was very correct. After consuming Ling Weiwei's spirit beast pill, the flaming lion appeared to be extremely happy. It actually used its head to nudge Ling Weiwei's arm in a fawning manner. Flame Lion's Demon Flame Clan Beast. The Dragon Flame Lion's Flame Lion Ao. Although the raging flame lion was incomparably fierce at the start, after being subdued by Tang Ao, the crowd carefully observed and discovered that the raging flame lion wasn't that fierce at all. When it was obedient, it was quite lovable. Seeing the raging flame lion's obedient appearance, naturally, Ling Weiwei gave it another spirit beast pill. After tasting the sweetness, the raging flame lion completely abandoned its pride as the overlord of monstrous beasts. It proactively lay down on its mighty body, allowing Ling Weiwei to easily climb onto its back. After Ling Weiwei climbed onto its back, the raging flame lion started to run, causing Ling Weiwei to laugh like a silver bell. Chapter 1762. If they didn't see it with their own eyes, they simply wouldn't dare to believe that someone could tame such a powerful monstrous beast like the Blaze Lion. Thinking to that point, everyone subconsciously looked at Tang Ao, who was walking alone at the front of the group. Tang Ao seemed to have a relaxed appearance at all times, as if the bloody wasteland that was filled with dangers was an ordinary place to Tang Ao. In reality, it really was like that. At that moment, although Tang Ao's cultivation hadn't reached the first level of the origin realm that Tang Ao expected, Tang Ao's current fighting strength was already comparable to a martial artist at the peak of the second level of the origin realm. If he used some methods, he could even fight against a martial artist at the third level of the origin realm. So, when Tang Ao walked in the bloody wasteland, he naturally felt relaxed. When Tang Ao had that feeling, Tang Ao also felt that his body was a lot more relaxed. After coming to the Flying Star continent, Tang Ao was in an extremely weak state for a long period of time. He always felt pressured. But at that moment, all that heavy pressure seemed to have disappeared like smoke. Also at that time, Tang Ao's heart felt a wave of clarity. Immediately after, Tang Ao felt a warm and refreshing aura flow through his body. After feeling that feeling, the corner of Tang Ao's mouth curled up. Tang Ao wasn't worried about his cultivation recovering to the origin realm. Tang Ao knew that it was absolutely something that would happen naturally. So, from what Tang Ao thought, he would have to go to the Evergreen Market Square and get some origin crystals before he could break into the origin realm. But what Tang Ao didn't expect was that because he had a moment of enlightenment in his heart, he actually broke into the first level of the origin realm in such a way. Because of the special nature of the Nine Dragons Emperor's jade body, even if Tang Ao broke into the first level of the origin realm, what Tang Ao showed was the chance of the ninth level of the body refining realm. Of course, if Tang Ao was willing, he could also display the aura of the first level of the origin realm. However, Tang Ao felt that there was no need. Breaking into the first level of the origin realm was not something worth showing off to Tang Ao. After his cultivation broke into the first level of the origin realm, Tang Ao also understood that it seemed like it was impossible for him to recover his cultivation there. Tang Ao estimated that even if he took out all of the yuan crystals in this place, he might not be able to recover to the life and death realm. As for breaking through the life and death realm and reaching the astral reaching realm, that would be even more wishful thinking. Therefore, what Tang Ao needed to do now was to find a way to restore his soul C. After his soul C was restored, Tang Ao would be able to refine the Three Treasures Blood Lotus Pill. With the Three Treasures Blood Lotus Pill, Xue Heng's cultivation would be restored. After Xue Heng's cultivation was restored, it would not be a problem for him to leave this place. Right now, there were too many things waiting for Tang Ao to do. Tang Ao did not want to waste any more time in the Flying Star continent. Of course, if he really could not refine the Three Treasures Blood Lotus Pill, Tang Ao would also consider using the space-breaking spell to leave this place. However, a treasure like the space-breaking spell would be like having an extra life on him. In the future, Tang Ao would have to fight in the higher-level martial world and meet even more powerful martial artists. Therefore, unless it was absolutely necessary, Tang Ao really did not want to use the space-breaking spell like this. Chapter 1763. Feeling the thick and powerful Yuan Qi, Tang Ao knew that if he were to face Lin Kuangtian again, he would definitely be able to beat Lin Quangtian until he called him Grandpa. Previously, Tang Ao hoped that he wouldn't encounter Lin Quangtian and the others on the way to Evergreen Market. Now, Tang Ao hoped that Lin Huqing and the others would be unlucky and run into him. However, things were obviously not as good as Tang Ao thought. Lin Huqing said that the Lin family would leave in 3 days, and it was really 3 days later. Therefore, the Lin family was still in the Lin family's encampment. With the flaming lion opening the way, there were no monsters that would interfere with the rest of the journey. Therefore, Ling Weiwei and the others' speed was also a lot faster. It didn't take long for Tang Ao to see the Evergreen Market not far away. Tang Ao also sighed in his heart. Previously, it was obviously a vast barren mountain, but now, it had become a small town with people coming and going. Not only Tang Ao, but the other warriors of Hundred Flowers Manor also sighed in their hearts. In this desolate scarlet wasteland, it was hard to imagine that there would be such a prosperous place. At this moment, in Evergreen Market, there were all kinds of tea-houses, restaurants, shops, and inns. It was said that this place was built by the Nine-Colored Deer Trade Union a few days ago. To be able to run a market to this extent in just a few days, the Nine-Colored Deer Trade Union's business ability was really terrifying. However, Tang Ao also admitted that the Nine-Colored Deer Trade Union's construction of Evergreen Market really brought great convenience to many warriors. The Scarlet Mountain Range was a very dangerous place. Even the fortress built by the Liu family manor in the Scarlet Wasteland had been attacked by monsters. But now, Evergreen Market had become the safest place in the entire Scarlet Wasteland. Because the Nine-Colored Deer Trade Union had built Evergreen Market, various forces, big and small, had stationed in Evergreen Market. In the face of this situation, the Nine-Colored Deer Trade Union's leader, Shen Qianshi, also made a prompt decision. He actually moved the headquarters of the Nine-Colored Deer Trade Union to Evergreen Market. Because of this incident, the Nine-Colored Deer Merchant Guild became the focus of attention. Perhaps it was because of the marriage alliance with the Golden Seeking Pavilion, but when the Nine-Colored Deer Merchant Guild did all sorts of things with great fanfare, no one dared to cause trouble. Elder Shen Qianshi was naturally very satisfied with this. However, what made Shen Qianshi and Zhang Jujin feel rather helpless was that even though they had already agreed on everything regarding the alliance between the Nine-Colored Deer Merchant Guild and the Seeking Gold Pavilion, there were still some problems with the marriage between Shen Luoli and Zhang Zifen. Although the two of them had been brought together by them during this period of time, they really didn't have any feelings for each other. Shen Luoli was a bit better. She had long since prepared to sacrifice her happiness for the Nine-Colored Deer Merchant Guild, but Zhang Zifan was different. Although Zhang Zifen was the young master of the Golden Seeking Pavilion, he had established the Idler Mountain Villa with the support of the Golden Seeking Pavilion. With the development of the Idler Mountain Villa, Zhang Zifen's influence was no weaker than the Golden Seeking Pavilion. Therefore, regarding the marriage alliance with Shen Luoli, Zhang Zifen only said that the two of them would get along for a period of time. If they weren't suitable, then forget it. Now that the marriage alliance between the Nine-Colored Deer Merchant Guild and the Golden Seeking Pavilion was known by the entire Feishing continent, even if Zhang Zifen was unwilling, Shen Qianshi and Zhang Jujin obviously wouldn't really let it go. Chapter 1764. When Tang Ao and the others walked into the Evergreen Market Square, they immediately attracted everyone's gazes. Of course, those gazes weren't on Tang Ao. They were gathered on Ling Weiwei, who was next to Tang Ao. At that moment, the blaze lion that Ling Weiwei was riding was too eye-catching. If it wasn't for the fact that the blaze lion was docilely being ridden by Ling Weiwei, many people would have already been scared away. My God, where did these people come from? They can even subdue a monstrous beast like the blaze lion. Now that the Blood Wasteland has opened, many hidden powers have appeared. Although their cultivation isn't high, since they can subdue the blaze lion, They must have some shocking methods. This girl is quite pretty. I'm afraid that in the current evergreen market square, only Lady Shen Luoli can compete with her. That's not necessarily true. The Drunken Gold building caught a girl yesterday, and they are preparing to auction it off. TSK, that's what you call a pretty girl. Nonsense. The girls from the Drunken Gold building are not bad, but how can they be compared to Lady Shen Luoli? When Tang Ao and the others entered the market square, the crowd also watched and chatted. Originally, the topic that the two martial artists were talking about naturally wouldn't attract Tang Ao's attention. However, when Tang Ao saw the image in the crystal ball in the martial artist's hand, Tang Ao was immediately enraged. Because in the image of the crystal ball, there was an extremely beautiful female who was tied up. Naturally, Tang Ao knew that female. It was Luo Yunshang who he separated from not too long ago. However, Tang Ao never would have thought that right after Luo Yunshang escaped from the tiger's mouth, she fell into the wolf's den. What Tang Ao didn't understand was that Luo Yunshang escaped with Lu Yu and Chu Jiang. How did Luo Yunshang get caught? No matter how bad Chu Jiang was, he was still a martial artist at the first level of the origin realm. As for Lu Yu, although his cultivation wasn't high, he was able to take out a treasure like the yellow turban strongman talisman. Naturally, he had quite a few methods on him. Therefore, Tang Ao couldn't understand how Luo Yunshang could be captured by the Drunken Gold House. But no matter what the reason was, since these people dared to capture Luo Yunshang, they had to be prepared to suffer his wrath. Immediately, Tang Ao said to Ling Weiwei, "Something happened to a friend of mine. You guys find a place to stay first. Take these two flame lions with you. If anything happens, they can protect you. I'll be right back." After Tang Ao finished speaking, he walked to the side of the two warriors. Because Tang Ao was beside the flame lion, the two warriors looked at Tang Ao with vigilance. A martial artist who dared to stand beside the flame lion without the slightest scruple was either an idiot or he had extremely strong strength. At that moment, Tang Ao's cultivation was already hidden by Tang Ao. Therefore, these two martial artists, who were only at the 7th level of the body refinement realm, were naturally unable to see through Tang Ao's cultivation. Facing an existence that they couldn't see through, the two of them had no confidence in their hearts. After seeing Tang Ao walk over, one of them gathered his courage and asked, "I wonder what advice does friend have?" Chapter 1765. Many thanks. Tang Ao wasn't in the mood to listen to his nonsense. After casually throwing out a bottle of pills, he walked towards Intoxicated Gold Tower. Luo Yunshang had given Tang Ao 2 immortal talismans, and Tang Ao had received a huge favor from Luo Yunshang. Just based on the fact that Luo Yunshang and La Kale had the same appearance, these people daring to treat Luo Yunshang like this was courting death. Tang Ao wasn't an unreasonable person, but if Tang Ao was truly unreasonable, then it would be very terrifying. At this moment, within Intoxicated Gold Tower, the smell of perfume pervaded the air. In the Blood Wasteland, martial artists were constantly facing life and death situations. Therefore, after returning to Evergreen Market, many martial artists were very happy to come to Intoxicated Gold Tower to find a girl to have some fun with. Under such circumstances, Intoxicated Gold Tower's business was abnormally booming. However, today there were many more people than usual, because Intoxicated Gold Tower was auctioning 4 absolute beauties. Originally, Intoxicated Gold Tower only planned on auctioning 3. After all, such absolute beauties weren't easy to find. However, Intoxicated Gold Tower didn't expect that just yesterday, an extremely beautiful female martial artist would be caught by them. Moreover, this female martial artist didn't have any background, so even if she was auctioned, it wouldn't be much. Alright, time's up. Many thanks to everyone for giving me face and participating in Intoxicated Gold Tower's auction. I am Chunxing, the person in charge of Intoxicated Gold Tower's branch. I thank everyone here. Tang Ao had just arrived at Intoxicated Gold Tower when he heard Chen Chunxing speak on the high platform. However, what confused Tang Ao was that when Tang Ao used his soul remembrance to scan the area, he didn't find Luo Yunshang. However, Tang Ao wasn't in a hurry. Since Chen Chunxing wanted to auction Luo Yunshang, Tang Ao believed that Luo Yunshang would definitely show up. Although he did not discover Luo Yunshang, Tang Ao still saw the hidden experts of the Drunken Gold Building. At that instant, within the Drunken Gold Building, other than Chen Chunxing who was on the stage, there were 3 other martial artists at the second level of the Origin Realm. Tang Ao didn't know if this was because of the Yuan crystals in the Scarlet Wasteland, but the strength of the Intoxicated Gold House was already considered pretty good. Landlord Chen, you know why everyone is here. Don't waste your breath and get straight to the point. After Chen Chunxing finished speaking, a bearded man immediately jeered. His words also attracted a burst of laughter from the crowd. Ha ha ha, this brother is right. Originally, I was going to send these 4 beauties to the Precious Treasure Tower's auction in 6 days. However, the 9-colored Deer Merchant Guild's people are too inflexible and didn't send them to me. Therefore, I can only auction them myself in Intoxicated Gold Building. Fortunately, all my friends have come today. Without further ado, let's invite the first beauty, Lady Wu Yuanshu. Following Chen Chunxing's words, Tang Ao saw a beautiful female martial artist wearing a beautiful long skirt sitting on a chair. She was lifted onto the high platform by 4 tall and sturdy men. Since Tang Ao had seen too many beauties, although this female martial artist was pretty good-looking, in Tang Ao's eyes, she was only decent. Moreover, Tang Ao's goal in coming here today clearly wasn't to bid on beauties, but to cause trouble. Chapter 1766. However, Chen Chunxing coldly snorted and said, "You don't know the rules of my Intoxicated Gold Building? If it wasn't for the face of so many friends, I would have to give you a taste of my strength." Cram. Facing the request of the martial artist, Chen Chunxing did not even have any expression. Tower Head Chen, are you really not willing to let Yuanshu go? Naturally, the blue-clothed young man knew the rules of the Intoxicated Gold Building. However, the young man was only a loose cultivator and Wu Yuanshu was the lady of a small power. After that power was destroyed by the enemy, Wu Yuanshu was sold to the Intoxicated Gold Building. So, if he wanted to save Wu Yuanshu, he only had to bid a high price to get Wu Yuanshu. However, he was originally a loose cultivator, and he didn't even have enough cultivation resources. How could he afford a high price? Noisy. This time, Chen Chunxing was too lazy to reply. After cursing, Chen Chunxing's body became a series of afterimages. Quickly after, everyone saw Chen Chunxing suddenly appear in front of the blue-clothed young man. After that, the blue-clothed young man's chest was stamped by Chen Chunxing's palm. Chen Chunxing did not hold anything back with that strike. Naturally, the palm power of a second-level Origin Realm martial artist was not something a normal 9th-level body refinement realm martial artist could receive. So, after the blue-clothed young man crazily spat out a few mouthfuls of blood in the air, he fainted on the spot. At that moment, if he was not saved in time, the blue-clothed young man would die without a doubt. Seeing the blue-clothed young man spit out blood, Wu Yuanshu was very worried. However, her entire body was locked and she could not move nor speak a single word. Towards the blue-clothed young man, Tang Ao quite admired him. Although the blue-clothed young man was struck by Chen Chunxing's palm, Chen Chunxing was also schemed against by the blue-clothed young man. When Chen Chunxing struck the blue-clothed young man, a strand of poison in the blue-clothed young man's body was also drawn into Chen Chunxing's body. Tang Ao could see that the blue-clothed young man did not have many thoughts about saving Wu Yuanshu. Today, he came here because he wanted to die together with Chen Chunxing. It was just that Tang Ao did not know much about poisons, so Tang Ao could only judge that Chen Chunxing should have been poisoned by a slow-acting poison. Otherwise, it would not have taken effect until now. Wu Yuanshu's eyes were fixed on the blue-clothed youth. Clearly, she did not want anything to happen to the blue-clothed youth. Although the two of them might not have a chance to be together in this life, Wu Yuanshu still hoped that the blue-clothed youth could live well. Naturally, no one cared about this little episode that had just happened. No one even cared where the blue-clothed youth was lying. Tang Ao didn't think too much about it and walked straight towards the blue-robed youth. He helped the blue-robed youth to the side and then took out a pill for the blue-robed youth to swallow. Tang Ao's actions naturally attracted the attention of many people. It must be known that this blue-clothed youth was injured by Chen Chunxing. Now, Tang Ao's actions were undoubtedly against Chen Chunxing. Chen Chunxing also looked coldly at Tang Ao. Chen Chunxing could also see Tang Ao's cultivation. He was a kid at the 9th level of the body refinement realm. However, Chen Chunxing did not act up. There were too many hotheads in this world. If Chen Chunxing wanted to care about every single one of them, he would not need to do anything else. Although he said this, Chen Chunxing still did not plan on letting Tang Ao go. Therefore, Chen Chunxing had already sent a soul remembrance transmission to the martial artists below, telling them to watch Tang Ao closely. Okay, the starting price for this auction is 300 high-grade raising essence pills. The highest bidder wins. Let's begin. Although the blue-clothed youth's matter had made Chen Chunxing somewhat unhappy, now that he had begun bidding on these 4 beauties, his mood was still very good. Chapter 1767. The drunken gold building was bustling with people. Tang Ao stood outside the crowd and quietly watched. After taking Tang Ao's top-quality return spring pill, Mui, who had been heavily injured by Chen Chunxing, had woken up. Although he had woken up, Mui was still a bit weak. After Mui woke up, he immediately looked at Wu Yuanshu on the high platform. Seeing the tears in Wu Yuanshu's eyes, Mui felt as if his heart was about to break. Mui struggled to rush up the high platform again, but Tang Ao stopped him. Mui was very clear on how powerful Chen Chunxing's palm was. Now that he had woken up, Mui could guess that it was most likely Tang Ao who had saved him. Seeing Tang Ao stop him, Mui immediately cupped his hands and said, "Many thanks to benefactor, but I'm afraid that I will not be able to repay you for saving my life. Today, even if I die, I will die with Yuanshu." Idiot. Even if you die with your strength, it is impossible to save your partner. Since it is like this, why not live well? Perhaps you can take revenge in the future. While Tang Ao and Mui were talking, a voice suddenly came from behind them. Tang Ao scanned with his soul remembrance, and knew that the speaker was a first-level origin martial realm martial artist. If it was before the appearance of the Blood Wasteland, first-level origin martial realm martial artists were already considered experts on the Flying Star continent. But now, with the appearance of the Blood Wasteland, origin martial realm martial artists were becoming less and less valuable. One had to know that the entire Flying Star continent didn't have more than 30 origin martial realm martial artists. But now there was about 1 origin martial realm martial artist in every 10,000 martial artists. This number didn't sound like there were many origin martial realm martial artists, but in the current Blood Wasteland where origin martial realm martial artists were gathered, this number was already shocking enough. Landlord Chen, I say, don't keep us in suspense. Since the 4 beauties of the intoxicated gold pavilion are going to be auctioned, why don't you just directly invite all 4 of them out? That way, it'll be easier for our brothers to choose. Aren't you just wasting everyone's time? A few martial artists revealed greedy expressions towards Wu Yuanshu, but some martial artists clearly weren't interested in her. Everyone's aesthetic standards were different. A single Wu Yuanshu obviously couldn't satisfy the requirements of these martial artists. After pondering for a moment, Chen Chunxing also nodded. For Chen Chunxing, He only needed to sell these 4 people and get his hands on the vitality-cultivating pills. As for how he sold these 4 beauties, it wasn't that important. After getting Chen Chuanxing's approval, the intoxicated gold house's cultivators also invited the other 3 people out. Tang Ao saw Luo Yunshang at first glance. At this moment, Luo Yunshang was also sitting on a chair with lifeless eyes like Wu Yuanshu. Tang Ao could naturally see that Luo Yunshang was also imprisoned. Other than Luo Yunshang and Wu Yuanshu, there were 2 other beautiful women. Chapter 1768. Hearing Chen Chuanxing's words, everyone had a look of understanding on their faces. It seemed like these last 2 beauties were extremely famous. Hence, even without Chen Chuanxing's introduction, the warriors here would recognize these 2. Because Tang Ao did not know much about the Drunken Gold House, Tang Ao naturally did not know that these last 2 were the top girls of one of the branches of the Drunken Gold House. This Lady Luo is indeed an outstanding beauty. I offer 300 high-grade essence cultivating pills. After seeing Luo Yunshang, many warriors were immediately tempted. Compared to Wu Yuanshu and the 2 top girls of the Drunken Gold House, Luo Yunshang was even more beautiful. Hence, one warrior took the initiative to bid. And after this person bid, the price immediately refreshed. I offer 50 crystals. I fell in love with Lady Luo at first sight. I hope everyone can fulfill this Zheng's wish. This warrior, who called himself this Zheng, was a fat man with an oily face. At this moment, his wretched eyes were also sizing up Luo Yunshang. As more and more warriors entered, the price of crystals changed again and again. Until now, crystals had changed from the initial exchange of 1 high-grade essence cultivating pill for 1 crystal to the current exchange of 10 high-grade essence cultivating pills for 1 crystal. It was also at this level that the exchange rate of crystals gradually stabilized. Hence, now that this person offered 50 crystals, it was equivalent to 500 high-grade essence cultivating pills. Although there were still soul crystals in the Scarlet Wasteland, because soul crystals were very rare, soul crystals had yet to become a circulating currency. However, there was also an exchange rate between soul crystals and crystals. That was, 1 soul crystal could be exchanged for 10 crystals. Although the black fog monsters were ferocious, their intelligence was extremely low. Furthermore, they did not have the habit of appearing in group. Hence, even the weakest warriors could only join forces to kill the black fog monsters that appeared alone and obtain crystals. There were even some scattered crystal mines in some remote mountain ranges. Hence, although it was not easy to obtain crystals, it was not as difficult as one would imagine. However, soul crystals were different. Soul crystals only existed in the bodies of purple conch mosquitoes. Purple conch mosquitoes usually appeared in tens of thousands. In the face of such a large number of purple conch mosquitoes, a martial artist's first consideration wasn't how to obtain soul crystals, but how to survive. Since the appearance of the Scarlet Wasteland until now, it was unknown how many warriors had fallen in the Scarlet Wasteland. Among these fallen warriors, more than 60% were killed by the purple conch mosquitoes. Of the remaining 40% of martial artists, 30% died in battles between martial artists, and only 10% were killed by other monsters or monsters. From this data, one could see how difficult it was to obtain soul crystals. Currently, the various major powers even had people tracking the purple conch mosquitoes. When a small portion of the purple conch mosquitoes left the group, they would seize the opportunity to kill them. It was also because of this method that these forces gradually accumulated some soul crystals. Chapter 1769. On the stage of the intoxicated gold building, after Chen Chuanxing heard the bid of 50 origin crystals, his heart was immediately moved. Even if he got the origin cultivation pellet, he still had to exchange it for origin crystals. right now, since that person directly used origin crystals to bid, and it was even 50 origin crystals. Naturally, Chen Chunxing was happy. But Chen Chunxing did not immediately agree. Looking at the enthusiastic crowd below, Chen Chunxing knew that the price was naturally not the final price. I bid 60 origin crystals. Lady Luo, I'm taking it today. Just at that time, another martial artist bid again. On the stage, Luo Yunshang already despaired as she looked at the crowd below. Just like what Tang Ao thought before, Luo Yunshang did indeed escape together with Chu Jiang and Lu Yu. Very luckily, there were no Lin family experts who chased after them. But what Luo Yunshang never would have thought was that while they were escaping, they met a martial artist with horrifying strength at the 3rd level of the origin realm. That person called himself Great Emperor Bloody Vulture, and for some reason, he wanted to capture Lu Yu. Originally, when facing an expert at the 3rd level of the origin realm, they had no way of resisting at all. However, Lu Yu used some unknown technique and his cultivation rose to the 3rd level of the origin realm. After that, with Lu Yu and Chu Jiang joining hands, they fought against the Bloody Vulture. However, the Bloody Vulture's strength was terrifyingly strong. Even with Lu Yu and Chu Jiang joining hands, Chu Jiang was still heavily injured by the Bloody Vulture and was on the verge of death. Lu Yu didn't want to implicate her, so he directly lured the Bloody Vulture away. Even now, Luo Yunshang didn't know how Lu Yu was doing on his side. When she brought the heavily injured Chu Jiang to the Evergreen Market Square and prepared to wait for Tang Ao, she was caught by Chen Chunxing. Now, Luo Yunshang's heart was filled with despair. Luo Yunshang didn't know when Tang Ao would come to Evergreen Market. She also didn't know if Tang Ao would know that she was caught after coming to Evergreen Market. At the same time, Luo Yunshang was also worried about Tang Ao. After all, the 4 experts of the Lin family had chased after Tang Ao. Until now, Luo Yunshang did not know whether Tang Ao had escaped successfully or not. As Luo Yunshang thought about her tragic experience, 2 streams of tears slowly flowed down from the corners of her eyes. Luo Yunshang didn't know what he had done wrong. His family was content to stay in a corner, developing according to the rules. In the end, because of the Lin family's expansion, he was directly swept away as a stumbling block by the Lin family. However, it was clear that no one in the Luo family had done anything wrong, but reality was cruel. If they really had to say what they had done wrong, then their fault was that they were too weak. This time, she brought the heavily injured Uncle Chu Jiang to Evergreen Market Square. Before Uncle Chu Jiang could receive treatment, she was caught by Chen Chunxing. The reason why she was caught by Chen Chunxing was also because she was too weak. In the world of martial artists, it seemed that everything was based on strength, and there was no logic to speak of. Looking at those greedy eyes below the stage, Luo Yunshang didn't know what her final fate would be. However, Luo Yunshang had already decided. Previously, she didn't have the courage nor the ability to control her own fate, but this time, she wanted to make her own choice. Once the shackles on her body were lifted, Luo Yunshang would immediately end her life. Even ants were greedy for life. If she could live, Luo Yunshang would naturally be willing to do so. However, the cruel world of martial arts had made Luo Yunshang lose the courage to live. Chapter 1770. Although the 2 of them looked exactly the same, their fates were completely different. La Kale had so many seniors who doted on her, many senior and junior brothers who got along well with her, and Tang Ao who loved her deeply. Compared to La Kale, Luo Yunshang realized that she really had nothing. But shortly after, Luo Yunshang recalled that she wasn't completely penniless. Although Tang Ao and she could not become partners, Tang Ao was already her brother. Moreover, Tang Ao had promised her 3 things. As long as it was within Tang Ao's capabilities, Tang Ao would promise her. The first thing she asked Tang Ao to do was to let Tang Ao show her La Kale's image. Through La Caille's image, Luo Yunshang was secretly shocked. So there really was another her in this world. Sigh. Luo Yunshang sighed helplessly in her heart. She was afraid that she would not have the chance to tell Tang Ao about the remaining two things. If it was possible, Luo Yunshang hoped that she could see Tang Ao one more time and tell him her blessings for Tang Ao and La Caille to Tang Ao. However, it was a pity that her wish was not so easy to realize. After Luo Yunshang's bid was called to 60 crystals, everyone's attention was focused on Luo Yunshang. Immediately, everyone realized that there were 4 absolute beauties on the stage. At first glance, all 4 of them were stunningly beautiful, each with their own merit. However, upon closer inspection, one would realize that Luo Yunshang's appearance was very pleasing to the eye. Moreover, it belonged to the type that the more one looked at her, the more beautiful she became. Even the 2 headliners of the Drunken Gold House looked at Luo Yunshang with a trace of jealousy. They were both women, but why was Luo Yunshang so beautiful? However, when they thought about how even though Luo Yunshang was beautiful, she couldn't escape the fate of being bought and sold by others, the 2 of them calmed down and even felt a little happy. 70 crystals. Let's see who dares to compete with me. He, old Zheng. Haven't those beauties in your family drained your body dry? Leave this Miss Luo to me, your brother. 80 crystals. Below the high platform, many martial artists were still bidding. However, their bids were all focused on Luo Yunshang. As for the other 3, they were reduced to mere foils. In the crowd, Tang Ao didn't say anything. However, under Tang Ao's powerful soul remembrance, void runes were condensed by Tang Ao and disappeared into the surrounding space. Just now, Tang Ao had used his sky polar eyes to scan the entire Drunken Gold House. Other than Chun Chunxing on the stage, there were 3 other experts. Of these 3 experts, 2 were at the 2nd level of the Origin Martial Realm, and 1 was at the 3rd level of the Origin Martial Realm. Although it wouldn't be a problem for Tang Ao to directly make a move, since Tang Ao had come today, he didn't plan on letting the Drunken Gold House exist in the Evergreen Market anymore. Therefore, Tang Ao also used void runes to start setting up a lightning guiding array in the Drunken Gold House. At the same time that Tang Ao was setting up the lightning guiding array, Mui, who was next to Tang Ao, was also silent. It was unknown if he had heard the words of the martial artist in the shadows behind him and was preparing to save his life to train hard in order to get revenge in the future, or if he was secretly planning something. Chapter 1771. These years, Zhuo Bufan had been paying attention to her news. After hearing that Lu Rian was going to be auctioned, Zhuo Bufan immediately rushed over with a few of his brothers. Compared to the impulsive Mui, Zhuo Bufan was much calmer. Although Zhuo Bufan's conversation with the others had all been through soul remembrance, Tang Ao was still able to clearly hear it. Zhuo Bufan decided to see which martial artist would win Lu Rian in the end, and then follow that martial artist to save Lu Rian. Although Zhuo Bufan had the cultivation of the 1st level of the Origin Martial Realm, he didn't have the qualifications to directly wrestle with the Drunken Gold Manor. Therefore, Zhuo Bufan's plan was extremely good. Zhuo Bufan also discussed with a few people whether or not they should help Mui save Wu Yuanshu. However, at this moment they were still discussing. Although they followed Zhuo Bufan blindly, what they were going to do this time was risking offending the intoxicated gold pavilion, so they didn't dare to agree for a while. Finally, Zhuo Bufan decided on a compromise. After saving Lu Rian, if there was a chance, he would save Wu Yuanshu. If there was no chance, then forget it. No matter what he did, he had to act according to his own ability. Although Zhuo Bufan didn't like the conduct of the Drunken Gold Manor, the current Zhuo Bufan clearly didn't have the qualifications to speak with them on equal terms. Tang Ao had a rather good impression of Zhuo Bufan. He was a person who knew how to repay kindness. Lu Rian had unintentionally saved him, but now, when Lu Rian was in trouble, Zhuobuffan immediately rushed over. This Zhuobuffan was brave and smart. As long as the one who won Lu Rian in the end wasn't an Origin Martial Realm second-level martial artist, then Zhuobuffan would definitely be able to save Lu Rian. On the high platform, Lu Rian's gaze was somewhat dull. Since the day she was sold into the Drunken Gold Manor by her adoptive father, Lu Rian knew her fate. However, she was naturally kind. Even though she had fallen into such a situation, Lu Rian still helped many wandering martial artists over the years. Although these people were just passers-by in Lu Rian's life, Lu Rian did not feel that life was boring after listening to the stories of these loose cultivators. However, facing this kind of thing today, Lu Rian's mood was still very gloomy. Lu Rian didn't know whether what awaited her next would be the ending of her life or the nightmare of a lifetime. Lu Rian's pair of beautiful eyes slowly looked at the crowd below. She saw that Mui had been injured by Chen Chunxing because of Wu Yuanshu. Although it was impossible for Mui to rescue Wu Yuanshu today, but in Lu Rian's heart, she still secretly envied this girl. Although she had fallen to such a state, there were still cultivators who loved her deeply. On the other hand, she was all alone in the world. At this time, Lu Rian also saw Tang Ao, but her gaze didn't linger on Tang Ao for too long. Lu Rian quite appreciated a righteous warrior like Tang Ao. Chapter 1772. If it was possible, Lu Rian still hoped to warn Tang Ao, but now Lu Rian was at the mercy of others. Even if she wanted to warn Tang Ao, she couldn't do it. Her eyes swept over Tang Ao, and Lu Rian saw a middle-aged martial artist behind Tang Ao. Based on her experience, Lu Rian could see that this martial artist was not as old as he appeared. The reason why he looked so old should be because he had been wandering outside for many years. Moreover, when Lu Rian looked at this martial artist, she felt that he was familiar, as if she had seen this martial artist before. Perhaps it was because too much time had passed, or perhaps the current Zhuobuffan had changed too much, but for a moment Lu Rian couldn't recognize who this person was. But Lu Rian was sure that she had definitely seen this person before. Under the high platform, Zhuobuffan saw Lu Rian's eyes and smiled at her, as if telling her not to be afraid. But Zhuobuffan didn't know whether this smart woman could understand his eyes. As Zhuobuffan expected, Lu Rian really saw from Zhuobuffan's smile that she shouldn't be afraid. But Lu Rian didn't understand. Did this martial artist, who looked like he had been through many hardships, want to bid for her this time? Or was he going to directly snatch her like Mui? If she could choose, Lu Rian really hoped that Zhuobuffan would directly snatch her. Even if he couldn't change her fate in the end, she also wanted the feeling of being cared for. But all of this might be her wishful thinking. After all, she couldn't even recognize Zhuobuffan, so how could she guarantee that Zhuobuffan would recognize her? 90 yuan crystals, Miss Luo, today I want you. At this time, a higher price was quoted. This price had already far exceeded Chen Chunxing's expectations. The reason why Chen Chunxing had captured Luo Yunshang was because he wanted to capture Luo Yunshang to make up the numbers. But Chen Chunxing had never thought that Luo Yunshang, who he had captured to make up the numbers, would actually bid the highest price. 100 yuan crystals. But what everyone didn't expect was that even the high price of 90 yuan crystals was quickly refreshed. A middle-aged martial artist with a shady face walked in from outside the door and directly quoted a sky-high price of 100 crystals. When Tang Ao saw that martial artist, his gaze also focused because that martial artist was at the third level of the Origin realm. Tang Ao hiddenly sighed in his heart. The speed at which these people used Origin crystals to cultivate was too fast. Even now, martial artists at the third level of the Origin realm frequently appeared. The guy at the third level of the Origin realm clearly had quite a bit of fame in that area. After he appeared, quite a few surrounding martial artists exclaimed, "It's Senior Feng Kunlun." Tang Ao could sense that Feng Kunlun's aura was abnormally chaotic. It was obvious that he had used some shameful method to cultivate. Seeing the evil glint in his eyes, Tang Ao immediately understood that this guy was an evil cultivator who harvested yin to nourish yang. It was also because of this that the aura on his body was so chaotic. Chapter 1773. But just as Feng Kunlun was about to take out 100 yuan crystals, a playful voice suddenly sounded out. "I'll pay 10,000 yuan crystals. I want all 4 girls." The one who spoke was naturally Tang Ao. Although Feng Kunlun's appearance was a bit unexpected to Tang Ao, in Tang Ao's eyes, Feng Kunlun was just SOSO. Not to mention that Tang Ao had already finished arranging the lightning array. If this Feng Kunlun was tired of living, then Tang Ao did not mind sending him on his way. Although Tang Ao's previous life was a demon that looked down on the world, but Tang Ao's cultivation was the result of hard work, and he had never used any evil cultivation methods. So seeing Feng Kunlun at this moment, Tang Ao was not very pleasing to the eye. But Tang Ao had come today to teach Drunken Gold House a lesson. So if Feng Kunlun was tactful, then Tang Ao would not bother with him. As soon as Tang Ao said this, everyone's eyes were immediately attracted to Tang Ao. Before, when Tang Ao had saved Mui, some people felt that there was something wrong with this Tang Ao. Now that they heard Tang Ao's words, how could they not understand that this Tang Ao was obviously here to cause trouble? But no one could understand how Tang Ao had the guts to come to Drunken Gold House to cause trouble. Before, when Tang Ao had saved Mui, Luo Yunshang was not on the high platform. At this moment, when Luo Yunshang heard Tang Ao's voice, her eyes were filled with excitement. But soon, Luo Yunshang wanted Tang Ao to leave. This was because Luo Yunshang knew that this Drunken Gold House was not an ordinary place. Before, in Drunken Gold House, Luo Yunshang had personally seen a martial artist whose aura was no less than Lin Quangtian's. "Humph, little bastard, do you really think this tower master doesn't dare to kill you?" Originally, Chen Chunxing was going to teach Tang Ao a lesson after this, but now that Tang Ao was tired of living and jumped out, he didn't mind making Tang Ao bleed on the spot. The reason why Chen Chunxing was able to become the manor lord of the Intoxicated Gold Manor's Evergreen Market branch was because of his iron-blooded method. Now that Tang Ao was deliberately looking for trouble, he wouldn't beat Chen Chunxing if he let Tang Ao off. As for the 10,000 pieces of essence crystals that Tang Ao spoke of, that was simply nonsense. In the current Scarlet Wasteland, perhaps only the 8 great overlords had the ability to take out so many origin crystals. However, being able to take it out was one thing, and being able to take it out was another. As long as one had a brain, they would be able to figure out that no matter what, the 8 great overlords obviously wouldn't take out so many origin crystals for 4 women. Chen Chunxing was right. In the current Scarlet Wasteland, only the 8 great overlords could take out so many origin crystals. However, even the Lu family manor, the #1 force in the Flying Star continent, only had a little over 20,000 pieces of essence crystals. For the Lu family manor to take out so many origin crystals at once, unless Lu Chuanjiao was crazy, it was absolutely impossible. Of course, in the current Scarlet Wasteland, although the Lu family manor had a lot of origin crystals, it wasn't the most. The force with the most origin crystals was naturally the 9-Colored Deer Merchant Guild. The 9-Colored Deer Merchant Guild had only invested 3,000 origin crystals to establish the Evergreen Market. However, after renting out the various shops and restaurants in the Evergreen Market, the 9-Colored Deer Merchant Guild had already earned back 30,000 origin crystals. Chapter 1774. After Tang Ao said that he would use 10,000 origin crystals to buy Luo Yunshang and the others, Feng Kunlun also looked at Tang Ao with a shady gaze. Although Feng Kunlun also understood that Tang Ao came here today to find trouble for the drunken gold building. But Tang Ao did not seem to have good eyesight. He didn't look for trouble earlier or later, but he just had to look for trouble when Feng Kunlun came. Although it made him lose a lot of face, at that moment, Feng Kunlun had no intentions of teaching Tang Ao a lesson. From Feng Kunlun's perspective, since Tang Ao offended Chen Chunxing, Tang Ao was already a dead person. Also, Feng Kunlun knew that there was also an old monster at the third level of the origin realm in the drunken gold building. Naturally, it was not Feng Kunlun's turn to show off his prowess in someone else's territory. So, at that time, Feng Kunlun chose to remain silent. At that time, Chen Chunxing's body flashed and he pounced towards Tang Ao. At the same time that Chen Chunxing attacked, the two hidden second-level origin realm martial artists also moved. At that moment, everyone already completely understood Tang Ao's cultivation. It was that the Tang Ao in front of them was only a mere 9th-level body refining realm martial artist. It was very hard for everyone to imagine where a little 9th-level body refining realm martial artist got the courage to provoke the drunken gold building. Although the 3 origin realm martial artists from the drunken gold building appeared, the other 2 only blocked Tang Ao's path of retreat and did not attack Tang Ao. After all, if this matter were to spread out, the drunken gold building would lose a lot of face. A 9th-level body refining realm brat was causing trouble in the drunken gold building, and the 3 experts of the drunken gold building actually had to attack together in order to take him down. That was definitely a very shameful matter. Seeing that the 2 people only watched with folded arms, a hint of a disdainful smile flashed past Tang Ao's eyes. Not to mention that Tang Ao's cultivation already broke into the first level of the origin realm. Even if Tang Ao was still at the peak of the 9th level of the body refinement realm, the 3 of them would not be able to do anything to Tang Ao. Now that Chen Chunxing had taken the initiative to court death, Tang Ao could only send him on his way. Little bastard, die for me. Chen Chunxing's hand was like an eagle's claw as it descended from the sky towards Tang Ao. This claw was strong and domineering, as if it was going to crush Tang Ao's skull. In fact, this was a method that Chen Chunxing often used. Chen Chunxing had used this move to kill countless warriors. But this time, it was completely different from what Chen Chunxing imagined. When Chen Chunxing's claw slapped towards Tang Ao, Chen Chunxing saw a trace of a disdainful smile on the corner of Tang Ao's mouth. At that moment, Chen Chunxing felt a wave of astonishment in his heart. But looking at Tang Ao who was getting closer and closer, Chen Chunxing only lightly spat, acting mysterious. Shortly after, his speed increased by 30% and he slapped towards Tang Ao. Seeing that scene, many warriors had a mocking smile on their faces. The target of their mockery was naturally Tang Ao. Although when the Evergreen Market was first established, the 9-Colored Deer Merchant Guild said that warriors were not allowed to fight within the Evergreen Market and that all grudges had to be dealt with in the arena. But that rule was clearly only suitable for an extremely small number of people. The Chen Chunxing in front of them was a person who did not follow the rules. Chapter 1775. Zhuo Bufan also secretly sighed in his heart. Zhuo Bufan was still very appreciative of Tang Ao. Zhuo Bufan had already expected that drunken gold building would deal with Tang Ao, so Zhuo Bufan had originally planned to help Tang Ao when he left. It was just that Tang Ao was too reckless. There weren't many people in the Evergreen Market who could survive the joint attack of the 3 experts of the intoxicated gold pavilion. And Tang Ao was obviously not one of these few people, so Tang Ao would undoubtedly die today. Compared to Zhuo Bufan, Muyi was not calm. The moment Chen Chunxing made his move, Muyi's figure moved. If not for Tang Ao, he would certainly die today. Since this was the case, why not join forces with Tang Ao to take care of Chen Chunxing? As long as the 2 of them could fight Chen Chunxing to death, Even if the two of them died here today, it could be considered as removing a scum from the Flying Star continent. But Tang Ao clearly disappointed Mui, because when Chen Chuanxing's claw slapped towards Tang Ao's head, Tang Ao, who was just standing below, suddenly disappeared. Tower Master Chen, be careful. The moment Tang Ao disappeared, Chen Chunxing was also shocked. With Chen Chuanxing's combat experience, Chen Chunxing naturally knew that Tang Ao did not really disappear, but because Tang Ao's movement technique was too fast, so fast that Chen Chuanxing's remembrance could not capture Tang Ao's figure, so it created the illusion that Tang Ao suddenly disappeared. After Tang Ao disappeared, Chen Chunxing didn't even have time to think about it. He turned his hand around and clawed at Tang Ao. When he clawed, Tang Ao's figure suddenly appeared. Under Chen Chuanxing's shocked gaze, Tang Ao suddenly chopped his wrist. Chen Chuanxing's arm went numb. Moreover, after Tang Ao chopped down, Tang Ao didn't let go immediately. Instead, he seized the opportunity to grab Chen Chuanxing's arm. Shortly after, Tang Ao flew up and struck Chen Chuanxing's chin with his knee. All of this happened in the time it takes for a spark to fly off a flint. Chen Chunxing didn't even have time to react before he was sent flying backward while spurting blood from his mouth. Such a scene caused all the surrounding martial artists to be shocked speechless. The Drunken Gold Pavilion's lord, Chen Chunxing, was actually being beaten up by a martial artist at the 9th level of the body refining realm. That's right. Even at this moment, Tang Ao's aura was still at the peak of the 9th level of the body refining realm. That situation was very hard to accept. To know that in the past, it wasn't too realistic for a martial artist in the 9th level of the body refinement realm to fight against a martial artist in the 1st level of the origin realm. To fight against a martial artist in the 2nd level of the origin realm was simply a joke. But today, something that should never have happened right in front of them. So strong. Within the crowd, Zhuo Bufan looked at Tang Ao, who sent Chen Chunxing flying with one strike, and he hiddenly praised in his heart. Originally, Zhuo Bufan felt that Tang Ao's actions were a bit rash. But now, Zhuo Bufan understood that Tang Ao wasn't rash at all. It was completely because he was skilled and daring. At that instant, after Chen Chunxing was sent flying by Tang Ao's strike, the other two martial artists from the Drunken Gold Pavilion also instantly appeared in front of Tang Ao to prevent Tang Ao from continuing to chase after Chen Chunxing. Bang. After a muffled sound came from the ground, Chen Chunxing also fiercely smashed onto the ground. On the limestone floor under Chen Chuanxing's body, there were even traces of cracks appearing. Pucci. After landing on the ground, Chen Chunxing also spat out a large mouthful of blood. At the same time, two teeth also spat out along with the blood. Chapter 1776. Little bastard, if I don't turn your bones into dust today, my surname isn't Chen. At that moment, Chen Chunxing clearly lost his mind due to anger. After saying that, he immediately charged towards Tang Ao. Originally, the other two elders of the Drunken Gold Building wanted to stop Chen Chunxing from killing Tang Ao. Since Tang Ao was able to injure Chen Chunxing in the body refinement realm, there was clearly some unspeakable secret on Tang Ao's body. However, there were too many people and the two elders couldn't say it directly. So, the two of them could only attack together with Chen Chunxing. In case Chen Chunxing attacked, the two of them could save Chen Chunxing in time. But what the two elders didn't expect was that Chen Chunxing left quickly and returned even faster. Because when Chen Chunxing once again rushed towards Tang Ao directly punched Chen Chuanxing's left shoulder and immediately kicked Chen Chunxing with a whirlwind kick, sending Chen Chunxing flying back. It was as if Chen Chuanxing's cultivation of the Origin Realm's 2nd level not only couldn't suppress Tang Ao, but was instead suppressed by Tang Ao. Seeing that scene, the two immediately understood that Tang Ao was hiding his cultivation. Immediately, the two of them looked at each other and said, "Attack!" The two of them joined the Drunken Gold Building at the same time, and they did many missions in the Drunken Gold Building. So, the two of them cooperated very well. In the instant Chun Chunsheng flew out, the two elders summoned their own fate spirits and charged towards Tang Ao. One of them had a fate spirit that was a thick shield that was half the height of a person. After summoning the huge shield, the Drunken Gold Building elder held the shield and charged towards Tang Ao like a raging bull. A silver light flashed in Tang Ao's hand and the 100 battle spear spirit instantly appeared. Immediately after, Tang Ao pointed his spear towards the huge shield that was charging at him. Bang! With an explosive sound, Tang Ao's 100 battle spear soul actually cracked. This left Tang Ao feeling helpless. 100 battle spear soul was a life soul that Tang Ao often used, but now it was ridiculously weak. In just a single exchange, the life soul of the other party had shattered it. Just as Tang Ao's 100 battle spear soul was smashed by the shield, the other warrior's attack arrived in an instant. Tang Ao saw that the life soul summoned by the Drunken Gold Pavilion's other elder was a saber with a ghost's head. At this moment, the elder also swung the ghost head broadsword in his hand towards Tang Ao. In the face of this mountain-splitting blow, Tang Ao did not retreat. With a whip kick, the shield-wielding elder was forced back. Then, the silver axe in Tang Ao's hand was instantly taken out by Tang Ao. Under everyone's shocked gazes, Tang Ao actually held the axe and chopped towards the black-clothed elder's ghost head broadsword. Such a scene caused many people to be secretly startled. Everyone knew the strength of Elder Heiwan. It was absolutely not something that Chun Chunsheng could compare to. Although Chun Chunsheng was the owner of this branch of the Drunken Gold Pavilion, the status of these two elders was higher than Chun Chunsheng. This was because they were both elders of the main branch of the Drunken Gold Pavilion. The elder who used the ghost head blade was called Ma Ji. Not long ago, Ma Ji used the ghost head blade to kill 16 black fog monsters at the second level of the Origin Realm. Also because of that battle, Ma Ji became a hot character in the current Blood Wasteland. However, because the Drunken Gold Building was special, Ma Ji was a bit low-key. At that moment, when Ma Ji saw that Tang Ao only held a broken axe and dared to fight against his ghost head broadsword, Ma Ji sneered in his heart. If Ma Ji wasn't absolutely sure that Tang Ao had some secret on his body, he would have definitely chopped off Tang Ao's head. But now, Ma Ji naturally would not kill Tang Ao. Although he would not kill Tang Ao, Ma Ji would definitely cut off Tang Ao's entire right arm. That would also be an interesting thing. In the instant that Ma Ji got close to Tang Ao, everyone saw Ma Ji's blade suddenly slash downwards. At such a close distance, everyone already knew what was going to happen next. Some of the spectating female martial artists even subconsciously narrowed their eyes because the following scene was too bloody. At such a short distance, Tang Ao would not be able to dodge Ma Ji's attack. And Ma Ji's ghost blade was already known for its strange transformations. At that moment, as Ma Ji's blade slashed downwards, Tang Ao's entire right arm would be gone. If Ma Ji wanted to kill Tang Ao at that moment, he could slash the ghost head broadsword in his hand and even cut Tang Ao in half. Chapter 1777. Because of Tang Ao's stunning performance just now, the spectating martial artists in the Intoxicated Gold Inn already admitted Tang Ao's strength. No matter if Tang Ao hid his cultivation or used some secret technique, everyone admitted that the current Tang Ao had the strength to fight against a second-level Origin Realm martial artist. However, when Tang Ao faced Ma Ji, he underestimated his enemy too much. No matter what the reason was, Tang Ao should not have been so casual. Besides, Ma Ji's ghost headblade was not that easy to deal with. However, something that no one expected happened. After Tang Ao's casual swing of the axe, Ma Ji, who was splitting Mount Hua, suddenly stopped his movements. At that moment, everyone's eyes were filled with confusion and confusion. Clearly, Tang Ao's move was full of flaws. If Ma Ji wanted to, he could split Tang Ao into two at any time. However, just at that time, Ma Ji, who was holding the ghost head blade with both hands, stopped. Slowly, the crowd of onlookers could see the fear in Ma Ji's eyes. When some sharp-eyed martial artists looked at Ma Ji again, they discovered that there was an additional line of blood on Ma Ji's throat. At the same time, Ma Ji's ghost head blade was instantly split into two. At that moment, everyone thought of an extremely unbelievable possibility. That was, just now, Tang Ao's casual swing of the axe not only blocked Ma Ji's ghost head blade, after breaking the blade, he even slit Ma Ji's throat. Was this really something that a blunt weapon like the axe could do? At that moment, that question appeared in the hearts of many martial artists. However, there were also some knowledgeable martial artists that could see that the devil-slaying axe in Tang Ao's hand was not a fate spirit, but a treasure. Greed quickly appeared in the eyes of the martial artists that could see it. Normally speaking, a martial artist's fate spirit could not be taken, but spirit artifacts and other treasures could be taken very easily. If the devil-slaying axe was one of Tang Ao's fate spirits, then perhaps these people would fear Tang Ao, but they would definitely not have any thoughts towards Tang Ao. However, it was different now. The demon-slaying axe was clearly a very powerful treasure. Ma Ji's ghost head blade life soul was a powerful life soul from the 13th firmament. But even such a life soul was split apart by Tang Ao with a casual swing of his axe. With Tang Ao's current cultivation, it was clearly impossible for him to achieve such a level. Hence, this was all thanks to the power of the demon-slaying axe. Previously, when the demon-beheading axe was in Lin Kuangtian's hands, Tang Ao already knew that the demon-beheading axe was extremely powerful. Now that the demon-beheading axe was in his hands, Tang Ao deeply understood that this demon-beheading axe was not just powerful, it was terrifyingly powerful. Moreover, at this time, the inscription array inside the devil-slaying axe was almost destroyed. If it was at its peak, Tang Ao could not imagine how terrifying the devil-slaying axe would be. Go to hell! After Tang Ao chopped Ma Ji to death with his axe, the shield-wielding martial artist once again raised his shield and swept it towards Tang Ao. This time, Tang Ao did not talk nonsense with him. He directly raised the demon-slaying axe and slashed at him. Just now, this shield had caused cracks to appear on the 100 battle spear soul, but now, under the demon-slaying axe, it was like a piece of paper. Chapter 1778. The three people from the Drunken Gold building, who had an overbearing aura, just now had 2 killed by Tang Ao, and 1 heavily injured. At this time, how could everyone not understand that Tang Ao was not a lunatic? He was a vicious person who pretended to be a pig to eat a tiger. After the 2 elders were consecutively killed by Tang Ao, Chen Chunxing was already scared out of his wits. At that moment, Chen Chunxing did not have the guts to continue fighting Tang Ao. Seeing Tang Ao look at him, Chen Chunxing did not hesitate and wanted to run. But just as Chen Chunxing was about to run, an old and deep voice suddenly came from the Drunken Gold building. Which blind thing dares to behave atrociously in my Drunken Gold building? After Chen Chunxing heard the voice, he reacted. There was no need for him to run. Although he did not have the qualifications to command this Elder Yuan, if someone came to the Drunken Gold building to cause trouble, this Elder Yuan would obviously not sit and do nothing. Chen Chunxing did not believe that Tang Ao was that evil. Forget about a mere body refining realm martial artist being able to deal with a second-level origin realm martial artist. Chen Chunxing did not believe that Tang Ao could deal with a third-level origin realm martial artist today. The martial artist who spoke was one of the 5 grand elders of the Drunken Gold building, Yuan Taichu. This Elder Yuan was from the first batch of martial artists that came to the Bloody Wastelands, so he had the cultivation of the 3rd-level origin realm. But it was different from Ma Ji and Ma Ji. Ma Ji and Ma Ji were sent by the head of the Drunken Gold Building to assist him, so he could order them around. However, this elder Yuan Taichu's status was even higher than the head of the Drunken Gold Building. Naturally, Chen Chunxing did not have the qualifications to order him around. Or else Chen Chuanxing's first thought would definitely not be to run, but to ask this elder Yuan Taichu to teach Tang Ao a lesson. But Chen Chunxing did not know if he could see this elder Yuan Taichu. If he was killed by Tang Ao without even seeing elder Yuan Taichu's face, his death would be too unjust. Luckily, at that moment, Yuan Taichu could not sit still anymore. Although Yuan Taichu was in closed-door cultivation, Chen Chunxing didn't believe that the old man couldn't hear anything with such a big commotion outside. Elder Yuan, this person is extremely arrogant. Not only did he cause trouble in the intoxicated gold pavilion, but he also killed 2 elders, Ma Ji, one after another. Elder Yuan, please kill this person. Chen Chunxing was obviously traumatized by Tang Ao. As soon as Yuan Taichu appeared, Chen Chunxing immediately went to Yuan Taichu's side. Seeing Chen Chuanxing's appearance, Yuan Taichu was very dissatisfied. Although the Drunken Gold House in the Evergreen Market Square was only one of the many branches of the Drunken Gold House, if Chen Chunxing was such a waste, then he really wasn't suitable to be the owner of the Drunken Gold House. Just now, when Tang Ao killed Ma Ji and Ma Ji, Yuan Taichu observed Tang Ao. Although he didn't know what method Tang Ao used to conceal his cultivation, Yuan Taichu still determined that Tang Ao's cultivation should be at the first level of the origin realm, and not the 9th level of the body refinement realm that he displayed. Originally, Ma Ji and Ma Ji cooperated extremely well. In addition to Chen Chunxing, with the 3 of them joining hands, no matter how strong Tang Ao was, he would not have a good ending. But sadly, no matter if it was Chen Chunxing or Ma Ji, in their eyes, Tang Ao was only a weak martial artist at the 9th level of the body refinement realm. And because of that, Ma Ji and Ma Ji already lost their lives. Chapter 1779. So, at that time, Yuan Taichu prepared to outsmart Tang Ao. If it was any other place, perhaps it would not be that easy for Yuan Taichu to take down Tang Ao. But right now, it was the Drunken Gold Building. It was his territory. In that situation, if he, Yuan Taichu, was still not that small Tang Ao, there was no need for him to cultivate. Of course, it wasn't because he had the help of the Drunken Gold Building's martial artists in the Drunken Gold Building. It was because back then, in order to stand firm in the bloody wasteland, the Drunken Gold Building laid a puppet-killing formation in the Evergreen Market Square. The puppet-killing formation was obtained by the Drunken Gold Building's martial artists in an ancient remnant. It was extremely strong. Using a treasure like that to take care of Tang Ao was like using a butcher's knife to kill a chicken. So, Yuan Taichu was still hesitating. Should he personally take down Tang Ao, or should he borrow the puppet-killing formation to kill Tang Ao to establish his might? After all, the puppet-killing formation needed to be laid beforehand before it could be used. If it was exposed this time, he would not be able to absorb enemies into the Drunken Gold Building in the future. After all, laying the puppet-killing formation required a period of time. So, it was impossible to take it out to fight against enemies at any time. If he met some powerful opponents, it was very possible that he would be killed before the puppet-killing formation was even laid. After thinking for a while, Yuan Taichu still decided to personally test Tang Ao's depth. If he really could not deal with Tang Ao's silver-colored axe, then he would use the puppet-killing formation to kill Tang Ao. Although that would expose the existence of the puppet-killing formation, as long as Tang Ao died, Tang Ao's demon beheading axe would naturally be his. Brother Tang Ao, this person is the Drunken Gold Building's supreme elder, Yuan Taichu. He has the cultivation of the 3rd level of the origin realm. Quickly retreat. Once you escape, Yuan Taichu will definitely chase after you. At that time, we'll help you save Miss Luo Yunshang. From the way Luo Yunshang looked at Tang Ao and the way Luo Yunshang bit the tip of her tongue just now because of Tang Ao, Zhuo Bufan knew that the relationship between Luo Yunshang and Tang Ao must be extraordinary, and it was very likely that Tang Ao had come for Luo Yunshang. If it were before, Tang Ao would definitely agree to Zhuo Bufan's proposal. However, right now, Tang Ao felt that there was no need for him to escape. So what if he was at the third level of the origin realm? Today, he, Tang Ao, was going to fight against the third level of the origin realm. However, Tang Ao didn't notice that there was an ancient era's puppet formation here. Otherwise, Tang Ao wouldn't be so arrogant as to fight with Yuan Taichu here. Yuan Taichu's fate spirit was very interesting. It was a huge hook, and around the hook there were waves of special soul remembrance undulations. Just by looking at the posture, Tang Ao knew that this fate spirit would directly attack the soul. The fate spirits in the Big Thousand World were a very special existence. These fate spirits had all sorts of forms and had all sorts of strange uses. Different fate spirits could have different effects in the hands of a martial artist. Since there were too many fate spirits and the Big Thousand World was too vast, no martial artist dared to say that they knew all the fate spirits in the Big Thousand World, or even the majority of them. Like the fate spirit of Yuan Taichu, Tang Ao had never seen it before. Yuan Taichu was very straightforward. After deciding to attack Tang Ao, he swung the long hook in his hand and attacked Tang Ao. Chapter 1780. Yuan Taichu's attack caught Tang Ao off guard. At such a close distance, Yuan Taichu instantly raised his hook and struck Tang Ao's left rib. Indeed, just as Tang Ao had imagined, the hook was indeed an attack on the soul. After being struck by the hook, Tang Ao's head buzzed as his consciousness momentarily blanked out. Tang Ao knew that it was because his psyche was too powerful that he could wake up so quickly. Otherwise, if an ordinary warrior were to be struck by Yuan Taichu, they would probably not wake up in a few seconds. After Tang Ao woke up, he instantly distanced himself from Yuan Taichu. Although Yuan Taichu's life soul could attack from afar and engage in melee combat, Tang Ao still wanted to maintain a certain distance from Yuan Taichu. He would make a decision after Tang Ao studied Yuan Taichu's life soul thoroughly. At a distance, although Yuan Taichu could attack Tang Ao, with Tang Ao's powerful psyche perception, Tang Ao could easily dodge Yuan Taichu's attack. However, if the distance was too close, it would be difficult for Tang Ao to dodge. Although Yuan Taichu's life soul would only cause Tang Ao to experience a short period of dizziness, Tang Ao knew that under such circumstances, such a short period of dizziness was extremely dangerous. If Yuan Taichu had seized the opportunity, Tang Ao would definitely have been severely injured by Yuan Taichu. Since Yuan Taichu's hook life soul specialized in restraining souls, Tang Ao's mind stirred as chains appeared from the void and slowly trembled around Tang Ao. These chains were naturally Tang Ao's 10,000 Ghosts soul lock. Just like Yuan Taichu's hook life soul, these 10,000 Ghosts soul lock were also specialized in attacking souls. However, unlike Yuan Taichu's hook life soul, Tang Ao's 10,000 Ghosts soul lock could not only attack the souls of living beings, but it also had a certain restraining effect on life souls. Just as Yuan Taichu swung his hook fiercely at Tang Ao again, Tang Ao waved his hand, and 4 pitch-black chains collided with Yuan Taichu's hook. With a crisp ring, Yuan Taichu's Yin Soul Hook Life Soul was knocked back by the 10,000 Ghosts Soul Lock. After summoning the 10,000 Ghosts Lock, Tang Ao also discovered that the aura of Yuan Taichu's Yin Spirit Hook was very similar to the 10,000 Ghosts Lock. The Yin Spirit Hook Life Soul seemed to be a type of Yin Nether Life Soul. Tang Ao had obtained the recognition of the Underworld Life Soul. In theory, Tang Ao could completely control all Underworld Life Souls. However, Tang Ao didn't know why, but he couldn't sense Yuan Taichu's In Soul Hook Life Soul through the Underworld Life Soul. Under the perception of the Underworld Life Soul, Tang Ao could clearly see the 10,000 Ghosts' soul lock, as well as the Nether Life Souls of the surrounding warriors. However, Tang Ao couldn't sense Yuan Taichu's life soul. As long as Tang Ao's Underworld Life Soul could sense it, Tang Ao could control this life soul. Since the Underworld Life Soul couldn't sense this life soul, Tang Ao could only use other means to compete with Yuan Taichu. Yuan Taichu didn't think much of Tang Ao summoning the 10,000 Ghosts' soul lock, but when the 10,000 Ghosts' soul lock blocked his In Soul Hook, Yuan Taichu hesitated for a moment. A ghostly blue light condensed in his right hand as he summoned the Hell Hammer Life Soul. Chapter 1781. However, at that moment, Tang Ao had never seen either of Yuan Taichu's two life souls. And when Tang Ao was dealing with Yuan Taichu, Tang Ao didn't use the demon-slaying axe. It wasn't that Tang Ao didn't want to use it, but that the demon-slaying axe hadn't been refined by Tang Ao. Tang Ao's use of the demon-slaying axe drained too much of his primordial energy and psyche. Furthermore, just as everyone imagined, the axe was a blunt weapon that needed to be charged up. Although the demon-slaying axe was abnormally agile in Tang Ao's hands when he killed Ma Ji and Tang Ao, it was because the duo's strength was much weaker than Tang Ao's. Therefore, Tang Ao could use the demon-slaying axe with ease. But at that moment Yuan Taichu was different. Be it his cultivation level, combat experience, or even his life soul, Yuan Taichu was much stronger than the duo. After Yuan Taichu summoned Gehenna's hammer, he didn't use the In Soul Hook to attack. Instead, his figure flew towards Tang Ao like a ghost. With a thought, Tang Ao summoned the Azure Lotus Sword Soul. Yuan Taichu's In Soul Hook Life Soul was too strange, so Tang Ao was absolutely unwilling to engage in close combat with Yuan Taichu. Furthermore, Yuan Taichu had summoned Gehenna's hammer. Tang Ao didn't know what use the Gehenna's hammer life soul had. Go! Tang Ao pointed with his sword fingers as the 7 Azure Lotus swords behind Tang Ao immediately whizzed towards Yuan Taichu. Facing the 7 unparalleled green lotus swords, Yuan Taichu directly raised Gehenna's hammer and hammered it into the void. Dong! Yuan Taichu clearly didn't hit anything, but everyone clearly heard a dull thud coming from the void. After the muffled sound rang out, the spectating martial artists felt their chests tighten. Soon after, they spat out mouthfuls of blood. It was as if Yuan Taichu's hammer had smashed into them. Tang Ao, who bore the brunt of the attack, was also pale. However, compared to these martial artists who were vomiting blood, Tang Ao's situation was much better. Although the hammer strike from Yuan Taichu had made Tang Ao feel a tightness in his chest, Tang Ao knew that the hammer had also directly attacked his soul. At this time, Tang Ao had basically figured out Yuan Taichu's attack method. It seemed that all of Yuan Taichu's martial skill life spirits directly attacked the martial artist's soul. This was because the soul was a martial artist's most fundamental and weakest point. If a martial artist could directly attack the soul, then such a martial artist would undoubtedly be very terrifying. However, this was only relatively speaking. Through the battle just now, Tang Ao had already discovered that. Be it Yuan Taichu's In Soul Hook Life Soul or In Master Hammer Life Soul, they required Yuan Taichu's psyche to augment them. In other words, the power of the In Soul Hook and In Master Hammer was completely dependent on the difference between Yuan Taichu's psyche and the warrior's psyche. If Yuan Taichu's soul remembrance was far stronger than the martial artist he was fighting, then Yuan Taichu probably would have just taken out his Gehenna hammer and violently swung it. Then, the martial artist fighting Yuan Taichu would have been shaken to death. This was also why Yuan Taichu had clearly attacked Tang Ao, but the surrounding warriors all vomited blood while Tang Ao only felt a little uncomfortable. Chapter 1782. However, what Yuan Taichu didn't understand was why Tang Ao's psyche was so powerful when he was only at the first level of the origin martial realm. Just a moment ago, he had launched a surprise attack, causing many of the surrounding martial artists to be hit, but Tang Ao acted as if nothing had happened to him. What Yuan Taichu didn't know was that Tang Ao's psyche was stronger than his. If not for Tang Ao's shattered soul C, Yuan Taichu would have injured himself by using Gehenna's hammer against Tang Ao. After knowing the uniqueness of Yuan Taichu's two life souls, Tang Ao felt a lot more at ease. By now, Tang Ao already knew that although Yuan Taichu's two life souls were strange, they didn't pose much of a threat to him. If not for the fact that his soul C hadn't been completely repaired, Tang Ao felt that he could even ignore Yuan Taichu's attack. Now, even though Tang Ao's soul C was still in a shattered state, Tang Ao wasn't afraid of Yuan Taichu's life soul. Now, as long as Tang Ao wasn't directly hit by the Yin Soul Hook, the Yin Soul Hook would be useless against Tang Ao. Although Yuan Taichu could use the Yin Soul Hook to quickly change his position, if Yuan Taichu didn't have any other means of attack, it would be useless no matter how agile he was. This was because Tang Ao's 9 Dragons Emperor Jade Body happened to restrain Yuan Taichu's two strange life souls. However, Tang Ao didn't know if Gehenna's hammer had other means of attack. Otherwise, if Gehenna's hammer could only unleash an attack of the same level as before, Tang Ao could directly ignore Gehenna's attack. In fact, Yuan Taichu's two life souls weren't simple. They were ancient life souls that Yuan Taichu had awakened in an ancient ruin by chance. The power of this ancient life soul far exceeded Tang Ao's imagination. However, Yuan Taichu was just too useless. Even though he had successfully awakened the two ancient life souls, Yuan Taichu hadn't been able to unleash their full might. But even so, relying on these two ancient fate spirits, Yuan Taichu still managed to kill a martial artist at the third level of the origin realm who had fought with him for treasures in the ruins. This was also the first martial artist at the third level of the origin realm to die in the Flying Star continent since the appearance of the Bloody Wasteland. It was also because he killed a martial artist at the third level of the origin realm that Yuan Taichu was very confident when he fought against Tang Ao. However, from the start of the battle until now, Yuan Taichu discovered that his two ancient fate spirits were more than enough to deal with a martial artist at the third level of the origin realm, but at that moment, they were not that useful against Tang Ao. Bang! At that moment, Yuan Taichu smashed out with Gehenna's hammer again. In the instant that Gehenna's hammer was smashed out, Yuan Taichu's spirit hook life soul also directly hooked towards Tang Ao. Facing Yuan Taichu's hook, Tang Ao immediately dodged to the side. After Tang Ao dodged Yuan Taichu's spirit hook, Yuan Taichu suddenly appeared at the position of the spirit hook without any warning. At the same time, without any hesitation, Yuan Taichu raised Gehenna's hammer and fiercely smashed it towards Tang Ao. Kacha kacha! Under everyone's shocked gazes, Yuan Taichu's hammer actually directly covered Tang Ao with cracks. Chapter 1783. The rapidly changing situation of the battle also caused the surrounding martial artists' emotions to fluctuate. They never would have thought that a martial artist at the first level of the origin realm could fight against a martial artist at the third level of the origin realm to such an extent. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have believed it even if they were beaten to death. After Tang Ao used the polar eyes to freeze the Gehenna hammer and the Yin Soul Hook life soul, the ice continued to seal Yuan Taichu. Yuan Taichu panicked and quickly let go of the Gehenna hammer and the Yin Soul Hook. A life soul was different from a spiritual artifact. A spiritual artifact could be easily taken away, but for a life soul, as long as the warrior who awakened the life soul didn't die, it was almost impossible to take it away. But now the impossible was about to happen, because after Yuan Taichu let go of the two life souls, Tang Ao's underworld life soul could clearly feel the two life souls. Moreover, the underworld life soul transmitted an emotion, as if it wanted to devour the two life souls. Although Yuan Taichu's two life souls didn't pose much of a threat to Tang Ao, if the underworld life soul could devour the two life souls, it would be easier for Tang Ao to deal with Yuan Taichu. Therefore, with a thought from Tang Ao, a dark void door suddenly appeared in front of Tang Ao. When the void door appeared, everyone felt as if the world had darkened, and the surrounding atmosphere was extremely stifling. Some warriors with weak wills felt their souls tremble, as if they couldn't believe that there was such a terrifying life soul in this world. Although Tang Ao couldn't use the underworld life soul as he pleased, it was a top life soul of the 36 levels of heaven after all. Its power was naturally not to be underestimated. The moment Tang Ao summoned the underworld life spirit, all the martial artists and demonic beasts within 1,000 miles felt their hearts palpitate. As for the martial artists watching the battle in the drunken gold house, they didn't even dare to breathe heavily. At that moment, everyone saw a crack suddenly appear on the void door of the underworld life soul. Immediately, the ice on the Yin soul hook and the Gehenna hammer melted. Then, under Yuan Taichu's horrified gaze, his Yin soul hook and Gehenna hammer were actually sucked into the underworld life soul. After devouring the Yin soul hook and the underworld life soul also slowly dissipated. After the underworld life soul dissipated, the palpitations in everyone's hearts also disappeared. But at that moment, Yuan Taichu spat out a mouthful of blood. He didn't know what was going on. Just a moment ago, he saw a void door suddenly appear beside Tang Ao. This void door seemed to be connected to the netherworld, causing his heart to palpitate. Furthermore, the two ancient life souls that he had awakened with great difficulty in the ancient ruins had been devoured by this void door. At that moment, Yuan Taichu couldn't sense the existence of the Yin soul hook and Gehenna hammer at all. These two life souls were Yuan Taichu's most important means. Now that the Yin soul hook and Gehenna hammer were gone, Yuan Taichu looked at Tang Ao with bloodshot eyes. His angry gaze looked as if he wanted to eat Tang Ao up. Chapter 1784. Those puppets were emitting powerful auras. Basically, they were all at the first or second level of the origin realm. However, there was also a portion of puppets that reached the third level of the origin realm. After seeing that, Tang Ao was secretly surprised. Other people didn't know what it was, but Tang Ao knew that it was a puppet slaughter formation. If Tang Ao wanted to, Tang Ao could also lay a formation like that. However, due to the special nature of the puppet slaughter formation, he couldn't use void formation runes. He could only lay it with traditional method. Also, the layout of the puppet slaughter formation was extremely complicated. So, Tang Ao knew that the puppet slaughter formation had been laid long ago. It wasn't something that Yuan Taichu laid at the last minute. After seeing the puppet slaughter formation, Tang Ao thought that he was too careless. Due to the existence of the Evergreen Valley, many abnormal things appeared on the Feishing continent. A high-level formation like the puppet slaughter formation shouldn't have appeared here. At that moment, the auras of the puppets in the puppet slaughter formation weren't very strong. Naturally, they weren't very threatening to Tang Ao. However, Tang Ao knew that within the puppet slaughter formation, the puppets couldn't be truly killed. As long as the formation couldn't be broken, the puppets would constantly be repaired. Different formation masters laid different puppet slaughter formations. So, even though Tang Ao recognized that it was a puppet slaughter formation, Tang Ao really didn't have any way to break it in such a short amount of time. Elder Yuan Taichu, this isn't related to us. Elder Yuan, please let us out. At that moment, the puppet slaughter formation covered the entire drunken gold building. Not only Tang Ao, but all the cultivators that came to the drunken gold building were trapped within the puppet slaughter formation. However, Yuan Taichu obviously didn't care about the cultivator's thought. Kill! His two most important fate spirits were devoured by Tang Ao using some unknown method. Yuan Taichu's entire person was like a crazy demon. In order to obtain those two fate spirits, Yuan Taichu paid a great price. But now, his two ancient fate spirits were taken by Tang Ao. At that moment, Yuan Taichu only wanted to kill Tang Ao. Yuan Taichu even regretted a bit. From the information he got from the ancient ruins, he knew that the two ancient fate spirits were far more powerful than that. But now, he didn't even have the time to study the two ancient fate spirits thoroughly before they were gone. If he had known that Tang Ao was so powerful, he wouldn't have the idea of testing Tang Ao. He would use the puppet slaughter formation to Tang Ao. Although the formation was laid by a formation masters of the Drunken Golden Formation Masters and Yuan clans and it, he could slaughter. He formation. Slaughter. After all, the grade of this puppet-killing array had already exceeded the understanding of the Drunken Gold Manners array masters. At this moment, Yuan Taichu wanted all the puppets to surround and kill Tang Ao. However, after Yuan Taichu issued this order, the puppets within the puppet-killing array suddenly started slaughtering the cultivators within the range of the barrier. This scene caused the crowd of martial artists to be shocked. Elder Yuan, what do you mean by this? Facing the puppets' attack, a cultivator roared angrily. However, before he could finish speaking, a sharp spear in the hands of a puppet had already pierced his throat. At that moment, the entire Drunken Golden building was filled with screams. Many of the cultivators were also fighting with the puppets. Chapter 1785. The most important thing was that the puppet-killing formation was a bit strange. The higher the cultivation of the martial artist, the more they would be surrounded and attacked by the numerous puppets with high cultivation. Also, the puppets attacking the martial artist and the martial artist being attacked would have the same cultivation. At that instant, around Feng Kunlun, there were 3 puppets at the 3rd level of the Origin Realm attacking him. At first, Feng Kunlun used methods to destroy one of the puppets, but before Feng Kunlun could be happy, the puppet immediately recovered in front of Feng Kunlun. Because of that, Feng Kunlun was so furious. Right now, although the puppets could not harm him, the puppets could not be killed. Instead, his essence was constantly being consumed. As time passed, his essence would be completely consumed. Wouldn't that mean that he would become a fish on the chopping block? But after Feng Kunlun furiously yelled, Yuan Taichu still did not open the spirit formation. Of course, it was not that Yuan Taichu did not want to open the spirit formation. At that instant, Yuan Taichu also saw that there was a problem with the spirit formation. It was because every time the puppets killed a martial artist, the martial artist's soul would be absorbed into the puppets' bodies. Then, the puppets that absorbed the martial artist's soul would emit an evil and strange aura. Seeing this scene, Tang Ao frowned. At this moment, Tang Ao discovered that he had misjudged this spirit array. This spirit array was not a puppet-killing spirit array, but a demonic sacrificial spirit array. And the sacrificial offerings were the flesh and souls of these cultivators. Tang Ao saw that the martial artists that were killed by the puppets would immediately have their souls devoured by the puppet. Their flesh and blood would also turn into black smoke and merge into the puppets' bodies. After devouring the martial artists' souls and absorbing the black smoke, Tang Ao astonishingly discovered that the puppets had the aura of life. Tang Ao knew that the Drunken Gold building thought that they got a treasure. But they never would have thought that they didn't get a treasure. They became someone else's wedding dress. At that time, when Tang Ao looked at Yuan Taichu again, he saw that Yuan Taichu had an extra small puppet that wore dark red blood armor. The little puppet was shrouded in a black, evil aura, making it look extremely strange. It seemed as though the little puppet was used to control the killing puppet formation. At that moment, Yuan Taichu was constantly urging the little puppet in an attempt to open up the spirit formation. Of course, it wasn't because Yuan Taichu wanted to let everyone leave. It was because there were also 3 puppets at the 3rd level of the origin realm attacking him. Furthermore, due to the consecutive loss of the Yin Soul Hook Life Soul and the Hell Hammer Life Soul, Yuan Taichu was already in a mess. Under the encirclement of the 3 puppets at the 3rd level of the origin realm, Yuan Taichu was surrounded by danger. Yuan Taichu couldn't imagine that things would turn out like this. This time, he had continuously lost the Yin Soul Hook Life Soul and Yin Master Hammer Life Soul that he had awakened with great difficulty. Even the puppet-killing array he had obtained from the drunken golden manor seemed to be problematic. As time passed, more and more warriors died tragically under the siege of the puppets. Chapter 1786. Tang Ao's heart skipped a beat. Tang Ao casually made a hand seal and released the seal on Luo Yunshang's body. After the seal was released, Luo Yunshang threw herself into Tang Ao's embrace. Tang Ao hugged Luo Yunshang and patted her back. He softly said, "Little sister Yunshang, it's fine now." Although he said that, Tang Ao really didn't know how to break the spirit formation. Under the inspection of Tang Ao's celestial polarity eyes, there was no way to break through the spirit formation. Compared to the spirit formation the 4 people laid in Linhu City, the spirit formation of the puppet-killing formation was not just a little bit stronger. Tang Ao felt that even if he used the demon beheading axe, he wouldn't be able to break through the spirit formation. As long as one was within the spirit formation, they would be attacked by the puppet. After a while, another 2 puppets at the 1st level of the origin martial realm arrived in front of Tang Ao. After arriving next to Tang Ao, the 2 puppets raised the sharp spears in their hands and fiercely stabbed towards Tang Ao. Tang Ao slightly leaned to the side while holding Luo Yunshang, then pushed out with his palm. The 2 puppets were smashed into pieces by Tang Ao's palm. Tang Ao could feel that although they were puppets at the 1st level of the origin realm, the puppets at the 1st level of the origin realm were a bit weaker than the weakest ones at the 1st level of the origin realm. Because of that, they couldn't even withstand a single palm from Tang Ao. In reality, Tang Ao underestimated the 2 puppets too much. Just like what Tang Ao observed before, the 2 puppets that attacked Tang Ao had the same cultivation as Tang Ao. They were both at the early stage of the 1st level of the origin martial realm. Because of that, Tang Ao felt that the 2 puppets were too weak. One had to know that although Tang Ao was only at the 1st level of the origin martial realm, Tang Ao's fighting strength was not inferior to a 3rd level of the origin martial realm. In a situation like that, even if the 2 puppets wanted to be stronger, they couldn't do it. Although the puppets couldn't harm Tang Ao didn't want to stay here for too long. But now that Tang Ao was trapped in the spirit formation, it wasn't easy for Tang Ao to leave. Moreover, the puppets that had devoured the souls and flesh of the warriors gave Tang Ao a kind of palpitating feeling. At this moment, the bodies of these puppets were emitting bursts of black smoke. They were sitting cross-legged on the ground, motionless. However, there seemed to be something awakening within their bodies. Before, Tang Ao used void formation runes to lay a lightning guiding formation in the Drunken Gold building. But because of the spirit formation, Tang Ao couldn't feel the existence of the lightning guiding formation. Otherwise, Tang Ao could also use the lightning guiding formation to break the spirit formation. One had to know that lightning was the nemesis of spirit formations. However, right now, Tang Ao couldn't feel the existence of the lightning guiding formation. So, naturally, Tang Ao couldn't use the lightning guiding formation. At that time, 3 puppets at the 9th level of the body refining realm suddenly appeared, and they rushed towards Luo Yunshang. The green lotus sword soul behind Tang Ao shot out 2 beams of green lotus sword chi. Before the 3-body refining realm level 9 puppets could get close, they were all cut in half by the green lotus sword chi. However, just like before, no matter how many times the puppets were destroyed in the spirit formation, they could recover to their original state. Very quickly, the 2 puppets at the first level of the origin martial realm and the 3 puppets that had been cut into 2 by Tang Ao all stood up and surrounded Tang Ao and Luo Yunshang. Tang Ao wasn't worried about these puppets because with Tang Ao's current strength, these puppets couldn't harm him and Luo Yunshang. What truly worried Tang Ao was the puppets that were sitting on the ground and continuously emitting black smoke. Under Tang Ao's sole remembrance, these puppets that were emitting black smoke had life auras. Moreover, the evil undulations on their bodies were getting stronger. Tang Ao faintly felt that if he didn't think of a way to leave this place, something terrifying would happen in a bit. Immediately, Tang Ao took out the demon beheading axe. At that moment, Tang Ao was a bit regretful that he didn't find time to refine the demon beheading axe after getting it for so long. Chapter 1787. After taking out the devil beheading axe, Tang Ao carried Luo Yunshang to the edge of the barrier. Immediately, Tang Ao held the devil beheading axe in his right hand and slashed at the barrier. However, when Tang Ao's heavy axe slashed at the barrier, not only did the barrier not show any signs of breaking, but Tang Ao and Luo Yunshang were also sent flying back. So powerful! Tang Ao secretly exclaimed in his heart. This level of barrier was definitely not something that the array masters of the Flying Star continent could set up. At this moment, Tang Ao could already imagine that the martial artists of the Drunken Gold Pavilion must have obtained a complete array disc and buried it under the ground of the Drunken Gold Pavilion according to the instructions. As for this barrier, it had long been in the array disc. The array flags that the array masters of the Drunken Gold Pavilion had set up were only to activate the puppet-killing array in the array disc. Tang Ao did not know who left this array disc, but Tang Ao could imagine that the person who left such an array disc was certainly not a good person. Otherwise, they would not deliberately leave an array disc to harm others. At this moment, this array was activated in the Drunken Gold Pavilion, and the range of the barrier was not very large. If the array disc was placed in the center of the Evergreen Market, and the atmosphere covered by the barrier was also the entire Evergreen Market, it was hard for Tang Ao to imagine how many martial artists would die in this puppet-killing array. However, even now there were no less than 100 martial artists who had died in the puppet-killing array. This was because at this moment, there were already more than 100 puppets sitting on the ground with their bodies emitting black smoke. Senior brother Tang Ao, what do we do now? After seeing that even Tang Ao could not break this barrier, a trace of worry flashed in Luo Yunshang's eyes. After all, Tang Ao had fallen into this dangerous situation because he wanted to save her. If Tang Ao also died here today, then even if Luo Yunshang died here, even if she died, she would not be able to rest in peace. Tang Ao was already the best alchemist on the Flying Star continent at such a young age. Moreover, Tang Ao still had La Kale, whom he was deeply in love with, and many of his fellow disciples. Tang Ao's future was still too exciting. He really shouldn't fall in this place. Tang Ao naturally saw through Luo Yunshang's worries. Immediately, Tang Ao stroked Luo Yunshang's long hair from behind. Don't worry, you've already called me big brother. As a big brother, I naturally have to protect my little sister. Although Tang Ao and Luo Yunshang's actions were a little intimate, Luo Yunshang did not dislike Tang Ao. It seemed that in Luo Yunshang's heart, she really regarded Tang Ao as her own big brother. Although she and Tang Ao were trapped in this puppet-killing formation, as long as she was by Tang Ao's side, Luo Yunshang would feel an inexplicable sense of security in her heart. It was as long as Tang Ao was by her side, she would not be hurt no matter what happened. In reality, this was the case. In the puppet-killing formation, there were constantly martial artists dying. However, until now, Luo Yunshang was still unharmed. However, looking at the puppets that were continuously being smashed and restored, Tang Ao also frowned a little. Although these puppets were nothing to Tang Ao, and he could destroy them with a wave of his hand, Tang Ao was still able to destroy them easily. However, after Tang Ao destroyed these puppets would quickly restore themselves and charge towards Tang Ao. Chapter 1788. Therefore, Tang Ao now wanted to find the special pattern that maintained the puppet-killing formation's operation. Even if Tang Ao couldn't break the barrier now, as long as he found the special pattern and destroyed it, Tang Ao and Luo Yunshang's current crisis could be resolved. To maintain the operation of such a puppet-killing array, the consumption of essence qi was definitely very terrifying. Once there wasn't enough energy to supply, the barrier would naturally collapse by itself. However, what made Tang Ao helpless was that even with the heavenly polar pupil, Tang Ao couldn't find where the pattern that absorbed and gathered energy was hidden. At this time, Tang Ao could only think of one possibility. The pattern that absorbed energy might not be inside the barrier, but outside it. However, although Tang Ao's heavenly polar pupil could see outside the barrier, Tang Ao was trapped in the barrier and couldn't do anything. After the heavenly polar pupil passed through the barrier, Tang Ao saw the scene outside the barrier. In the Evergreen Market, Drunken Gold Building wasn't in the center, but its location wasn't bad, and the flow of people wasn't small. Because the barrier that suddenly appeared enveloped Drunken Gold Building, it attracted many people's attention. Especially after the martial artists' screams came from Drunken Gold Building, some martial artists immediately realized that something was wrong. However, because of the barrier, no one could see the changes in their sister's body with their naked eyes or soul remembrance, so they naturally couldn't know what was happening inside the barrier. Although the sound inside the barrier could be heard, the martial artists outside found that the sound from the outside couldn't enter the barrier. At this time, outside the barrier, 9 Colored Deer Merchant Guild's head, Shun Luoli's grandfather, Shin Qianshi, had arrived. Besides Shin Qianshi, Golden Seeking Pavilion's Zhang Jujin, who was allied with 9 Colored Deer Merchant Guild, had also arrived. The reason why the Evergreen Market could be so stable, besides 9 Colored Deer Merchant Guild's joint construction, was also due to Golden Seeking Pavilion's martial suppression. Therefore, at this time, when something happened in Drunken Gold Building, the two leaders of 9 Colored Deer Merchant Guild and Golden Seeking Pavilion instantly arrived. Apart from Shin Qianshi and Zhang Jujin, people from the other forces were rushing over as well. Not to mention the fact that the 9 Colored Deer Merchant Guild and the Golden Seeking Pavilion were maintaining order in the Evergreen Market. The Evergreen Market was extremely important to the other major forces. Therefore, the other forces also tried their best to restrain their disciples from causing trouble in the Evergreen Market. At this moment, the situation in the Evergreen Market naturally alarmed many people. Brother Qianshi, what do you think is going on? Although Shin Qianshi broke into the first level of the Origin Realm not too long ago, and Zhang Jujin was already at the third level of the Origin Realm, Zhang Jujin was still very polite to Shin Qianshi. This was because Zhang Jujin could be considered Shin Qianshi's junior, and Shin Qianshi was of the same generation as Hua Yuan of the Alchemy Guild. Moreover, although Zhang Jujin's cultivation was slightly higher than Shin Qianshi's, when it came to knowledge and experience, even 10 Zhang Jujins couldn't compare to one Shin Qianshi. As the leader of 9 Colored Deer Merchant Guild, it was somewhat exaggerated to say that Shin Qianshi had basically seen everything that existed on the Flying Star continent. However, such a statement was a bit exaggerated. Shin Qianshi had indeed seen some boundaries before. However, the boundary of the puppet-killing array was something that Shin Qianshi had never seen before. The drunken gold manor had done so many atrocious things in the open and in the dark. Could it be that some powerhouse couldn't stand it and had come to deal with the drunken gold manor this time? If it was before the appearance of the Scarlet Wasteland, then the possibility of such a thing happening might not be high. However, after the appearance of the Scarlet Wasteland, such a thing might really happen. Before the Scarlet Wasteland was discovered, the 8 overlords ruled the Flying Star continent. Most of the cultivation resources were in the hands of the 8 overlords. Below the 8 overlords were the 9-colored Deer Chamber of Commerce, the Dan Guild, the Golden Seeking Pavilion, and the Intoxicated Gold Pavilion. Therefore, the experts were basically from these forces. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.